some 10 years, and in various countries through. Then I was invited to become a facilitator. So I've been running Mowgli programs since 2011 in the Middle East, in North Africa, and then the bit that was closest to my heart was to start running programs in sub-Saharan Africa. So it's been a great privilege for me to do that, and that's a bit of us and what brings us to be with you today. And Julie, anything else you want to say about Mowgli at this point?
Yes, no, I mean, the topic of this webinar is not mentoring, but I mean, we are a mentoring organization, so we work on, well-being and resilience through mentoring. So just a quick word to say that Mowgli Mentoring is a specialized mentoring organization. So mentoring is really our core, and we run programs, across MENA and Sub-Saharan Africa. And I mean, you can check out our website if you want to know more, and I can send you more information after the webinar.
Thanks very much. What we have learned, what we do know through our programs and through supporting our participants, is that resilience is key for the likes of entrepreneurs, women leaders, youth development, and leaders in conservation and sustainability. So resilience is very much a recurring theme. Also, for my part, I also do some work in the UK with injured veterans, so those who've been in the military and who are transitioning into a new life. And so there's a lot of work we do there with well-being and resilience. And so, a lot of what you hear today will have foundation in the experience with Mowgli and also with the veterans in the UK. So, right up front, what I want to say, one of the things I want to say is, please do interact with us. This is, I don't know about you, this is a new platform for me. So please do use the chat function. Please do raise your hand if there's something you want to ask verbally. We can bring you onto the stage, and that would be fantastic for me, so that you get to hear somebody else's voice other than mine. So, please do that, and as best we can, we will include you. So please use the chat. Please just tell us how it's going. I'm also going to be asking you questions. So, however many of you are out there, I want occasionally I say, please put in discuss on the side. Your response to this question. So I'm going to be asking you to interact. But the more it comes from you, the better.
I have put in the chat, I ask people to tell us where they come from, their name. So please do tell us. We want to know who's in the room, because we can't see you. It's very frustrating, but we want to know who's out there.
Yeah, who's there? Because, this is about people. I know technology is a wonderful thing, but really, as long as it's enabling connections between people, and that's certainly what we're all about at Mowgli, is creating those connections and supporting those connections. What else? I want to acknowledge that some of you may be on your mobile phones, so if your functionality is reduced, it's okay, don't worry, relax. What I want most is your attention. If you can interact, fantastic, but what's more important to me is that you can give us your attention. And also, I want to acknowledge that there will be, different levels of experience and interest among you as the audience. As best we can, we want this to be able to be obviously relevant and practical for you. So, I'll try and pick examples, I'll try and pick contexts that are universal, if you like. If I don't, then please forgive me, or say that in the chat, say, well, how can I make this relevant to my experience? And we'll do our best for that. But yeah, that's just to acknowledge who's here. I'm already finding it weird just speaking through a screen, but these are the times we are in. And it's an opportunity to connect to as many of you out there as we can. Great. So, Julie, please do monitor the questions. If there are any questions so far, let me know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. People are starting to introduce themselves. So,
Oh, are they? Who have we got then? Let's have a
so
look.
we have Felista
Yes.
from Nigeria and Enogiu from Nigeria. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your names. So Nigeria is in the place.
Okay, fantastic. We also
We also have Iran.
yeah.
We have Eva from Kenya.
Hello, Eva. Nice to see you. Hi, Iran. Great. Well, keep those coming in because I do want to know who's here. Thank you so much. So we are here to talk about well-being and resilience. So the very first thing I'm going to do, which may sound weird to you, is pause. I want us to everyone to pause and just to arrive, so that you can put down whatever you've been doing in the day so far. You can forget about whatever comes later on, and just right now, and I'm going to put a timer on it. I just want you to sit still, take a breath, or actually, more importantly, take an out breath. And you can stare off into the distance, look out the window. Just take a moment to breathe, be present, feel your feet on the ground, and maybe set an intention for what you want to get from this session. You might want to just think of something you're grateful for, maybe say a prayer, but just anything, just for 1 minute, the end of which will be a bell, just for 1 minute, just pause and enjoy having that pause. Here we go, 1 minute. Okay.
Super.
Thanks for that. I'm also going to do something. So pausing is good for us. Slowing down is good for us. I now feel better than I did when I first logged on and I was wondering about the technology and this and that and who's going to be here. Now I feel calmer. I feel more settled. I'm also going to do another thing that's good for our well-being is take a sip of water. Most of us spend most of our lives dehydrated, and it's not good for us. Okay, we're off. So first thing, and by the way, if you have any comments about that pause, if you think, oh, that was weird or that was great, then let us know. What we're going to do now is I want to ask you why you're here. So Julie is kindly, my glamorous assistant, is going to post into the chat a link, and this should open up a poll for you to just give us a word or two about what curiosity brings you to this session today. Julie, do we have the link?
Yeah, posting it right now.
So the question is, what curiosity brings you here today? So if you click on that link, you'll see two boxes and you can enter a word or a couple of words about what brings you here today. And then we'll be able to see the results of us as a group. Might give us an indication of how many people are here as well.
No. I know. First results coming in.
Da, da, da.
So please start voting. So start putting your results. So you have to go on the chat box on the discussion board and click on the menti.com link I just posted here.
Yeah. Does it link direct or do they need to copy and paste?
Don't know actually. Is it direct link? I think they have to copy paste it. Yeah.
Copy and paste. Yeah. Thank you.
Let me.
That's something to learn.
Yeah.
I thought it was a direct link. Yeah. Anyone having trouble with that? We do have a backup plan as well. But copy and paste should be okay. As I say, it may be trickier for people on phones, but hopefully, if you're on a laptop, it's easy.
So we will ask you several times to do that. So the first poll is kind of the test. So please try and copy paste that link and answer. Give us your answer.
How about you, Julie? What curiosity brings you here?
Well, I want to know about more how people are feeling these days. You know, we had a tough year with COVID, etc. And yeah, I don't know. I want to know what's happening out there. And I understand, different countries, we have different contexts. So yeah, I want to see how people are coping with all of this.
Yeah, I think it's similar for me. The context thing is always key because everyone's context is going to be unique. And there are some contexts that we share. You could say the whole world is like in a shared context of COVID, but then you have different countries. It's different contexts for different countries, different regions, different communities, different families, different individuals. So the context is always different and is always shifting in that regard. Have we got any responses?
Yeah, let me share the first.
So curiosity, how to develop it, meaning, what is resilience really? Learning, partnership, open mind. Okay, all of those sound relevant. We'll keep that poll open for those who are still doing it, Julie, and let me know if anything fresh comes through. The other thing for you all is that we will be sharing the results and sharing all our slides and all our questions as one sort of handout at the end. So if you want to take notes, you're welcome to, but you certainly don't need to write down what's in the slides. Okay, you might want to write down what comes out of the conversation, the presentation, but all the content will be given to you afterwards. Good. So why are we here? Well, I've noted it down as 3 things. So we're here to increase awareness and appreciation of personal well-being and resilience. And I can say personally, I think it's pretty much the most important thing in the world. Because if we can take care of ourselves, then we can take care of each other. And if we can teach this to our children, then they will grow up knowing how to take care of themselves. We're here to share and learn from each other, from each other as participants, and also from us as presenters. We'll share where we can. And we're here to discover simple concepts, tools, and ideas for me, it's important that we can put them into practice. If it's just theory, then so what? So for me, it's like, if everyone leaves with one thing that they can actually try out and use, then I feel like I'm doing my job. So, first thing I want to ask you, the next thing I want to ask you, is what do you think well-being is? And I just want you to put that in the chat. What is well-being for you? Just pop it in the chat, your first ideas. It's not about right or wrong. We're having a discussion here. Julie, when you think of well-being, what comes to mind for you?
Soothe. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Soothe? Meaning?
Yeah. I mean, kind of pausing and taking a step back.
Okay.
Something. Yeah.
So taking a pause, taking a step back. Yeah, for me, well-being is it's kind of there in the word. It's not just And for me, it's not just how do we look after ourselves when things go wrong, right? So it's not waiting until we're broken or something needs fixing. It's actually about constantly nurturing ourselves. And I had a nice definition of nurture, which is to care for something that's growing. I haven't seen any comments in the chat, so we'll move on. Because obviously that's what people are here to discover. But I just think it's such a universal term at the moment, and everyone's saying, "Oh, you got to do well-being, you got to do resilience," and it's like, yeah, and what does it mean? Oh, we got one from Iran. It's a state of not feeling in crisis. I wonder if you could rephrase that, Iran. Maybe for you it's a state of being calm and being capable. Yeah. And this is another thing, by the way. It's important if we can focus on what we do want. Nice to be able to manage the crisis when it comes across. Yeah. So if we can focus on what we do want, we move towards it. If we focus on what we don't want, it can help, but we're still focused on what we don't want. So if I say to you, don't think of a pink tree, right? The mind can't cope with the negative. It has to think of the thing it doesn't want in order to not think about it. So it's changing our language from, don't forget the car keys to remember the car keys. Yeah. So I love that, to be able to manage crisis when it comes. I would even put if it comes. Good. So thanks for that, Iran. And I think it's important to know what it means for you. You find your own meaning. We're meaning-making creatures. So here from Eva, it's a state of being comfortable even in uncertainty, understanding my capabilities, and I also associate well-being with happiness. That's wonderful. And that's what I'm talking about in terms of having a clarity on what it means for you. So you know when it's there, and you know when it's not there, and that becomes your compass. That becomes your own reference point. Good. I'm now going to present a slide. I'm going to try really hard not to do too many slides, but I want to show some of them to you. So, where's it gone? Can you see my slide, Julie?
Yeah, it's loading. So for participants, if the slide, because you might see me in like half of the screen and Richard were on the other. If you want the slides to be bigger, you can double click on it, or you can also change the way you view the platform. Next to the microphone, you have a little square. So you have to click on the square to change how you want to view, and if you want to see the slides in a bigger view.
So have a play, find out which one works for you. What I want to show you is, it's called the Kubler-Ross change curve. Okay, and this was something that's been, for me, it's like a map of stages we go through when change happens. Okay, so stages we go through when change happens, because change is the constant in our lives, but it's how do we respond and how do we react. So if you look at this model, you'll see on the left that when let's say we're normally doing what we normally do, and then something changes, and especially if it's sudden, it's a shock. Okay, if we take I'm going to use the example of COVID because that's the context we all share right now. So it's like, what? There's a pandemic and it moves quickly and you can die from it and people get unwell and these groups are at risk. Okay, so there's a genuine shock and it has an effect on our emotions, it has an effect on our thoughts, it has an effect on our bodies, that shock, that trauma. So that's the first stage. And we're kind of in this, rabbit in the headlights, what's happening? Our second response is actually denial. It's that, no, this can't be true. This can't be happening. No, I don't want to believe it. I don't believe it and I don't want to believe it. And we will actually seek evidence. As human beings, we will constantly seek evidence. It's called confirmation bias. So we will seek evidence to confirm what's happening for us. So we'll look for ways to confirm our disbelief. Okay, and we push it away, deny. But it's still there. So then we go into frustration. It's like, well, why is this happening? And who's to blame? And, I've lost my business, or I've lost a loved one, or I can't go and see my friends. Or sometimes it's just, I just can't go to the shop. I can't do what I normally do, right? And there's this frustration, and we want to blame someone for it. And after that comes the depression. And it's described here as a lack in energy. It's when we hit the bottom and we go, oh, I shouldn't swear actually, but it's when we go, oh no, oh my God, I'm lost here. I don't know what to do. We feel completely unresourceful, and we don't have no idea what to do about it. And we don't know which way to turn, and we don't know what to do. It's that oh no, oh my God moment. It's also the moment where it changes. So we sort of like hit the bottom and we start to bounce, because we're quite resourceful. We're very resourceful as human beings. So we let go what we can't do, and we start to look at, well, what can I do? And that's really where the switch happens. We go from I can't to what can I do? And this is where we say, well, I can try this. I'm going to try something new. I'm going to, I can't go and stay with my family, but maybe we can meet somewhere in between. And do an outdoors, and you know what I mean. So it's trying something new. My business has collapsed with that product. What different product can I create with the same resources, or what different service can I create? And lots of people in business are talking about pivoting. So I'm going to try this. I'm going to try something new. And through the experimenting, we then go to the deciding, which is, that didn't work, or that did, or that didn't work. But if I try more of this, then I can, this is my choice, this is my decision, this is how I'm going to move forward. And it starts to feed a sense of greater positivity. Oh, look, this is what I can do. The integration part is when we keep practicing and we keep going. You heard people talk about the new normal. It's like, and we've actually gone, well, this works. I'm going to keep doing it. And that could be for anything. It could be how we operate in our relationships, could be to do with our health, could be to do with our businesses. Julie, we've come across people who were focused on one area of their business, and because of COVID, they've actually set up a whole new their business has completely changed, and they're doing something new with it. So this is the curve. As I say, we'll send this out afterwards. What I would like to know from you, and we've got another poll for this, is where can you relate to from the last few months? Okay, so we're going to send out the poll, which has all the 7 stages, and I want you to click on 3 that you can relate to. Okay, 3 that you can relate to. I'll leave the presentation up for now so that everyone can see it. Julie, have you got the link?
Yeah, I've put it on the chat, so please click on the link and start voting.
Fabulous. Okay, I'm just going to, while that's happening, I'm going to come back to the room, if that works.
Yeah.
Am I back in the room?
Yeah, we can see you, Richard.
Okay, good. So where... And Julie, I'm sorry, I'm going to keep asking you these questions, but where have you spent most time in the last few months?
Well, I've been in shock first. I've been very frustrated, especially with homeschooling situation. In Kenya, we no school for 8 months so far. And then time to decide what we do, how we move on. So for me, shock, frustration, decision.
Nice. I think for me, it's been, frustration and experimentation, actually. And what I notice about let's say, frustration it is often, it's like a blame thing. It's like, I'm feeling frustrated. Who can I blame? And we look at the politicians, and we look at, I don't know, the public here in the UK who behave. We generalise and we say, oh, everyone's, behaving like this. Well, no, they're not, because actually, what's also happened is people are being very neighbourly, and people are really looking out for each other, and perhaps making even nurturing their friendships and making new friends. So I can also associate with the experimentation. Most of my work went out the window because it was mostly face-to-face, and that's still the case with some clients. But I tried to stay calm, and actually a lot of, like Mowgli have come back and said, well, we're experimenting too. Do you want to experiment with us? So I think for me, it's a lot of frustration and experimentation. So
sharing the result here.
Okay. Yep. What have we got?
Yeah, a mix of everything except for integration.
Okay, so a lot of decisions. Yeah, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. So yeah, a mix of the others. Not so much in denial. I think that's important when it comes to well-being as well. Is kind of accepting the situation. What I find with this whole curve, though, is like, we can go down into the detail of it, but what it helps me do, something you mentioned earlier, Julie, is to take a step back. Okay, and this is important in well-being, is actually having a perspective that's bigger than the situation that's that we're entangled with at the time. Okay, so on a practical level, I think being aware of this curve and going, oh look, right now I'm in shock, or I'm in frustration, or I'm in depression. Good, I know that's going to pass. It doesn't feel good at the time, but I know it's part of a bigger change curve. And once we can do that, we start to work with it rather than it sort of overwhelming us. Okay?
Yes.
That's how this curve can help us. Is there anybody in our group who would like to comment on what they've put? In which case, the way to do that is to raise your hand, and we can invite you onto the stage. No obligation. It would just be lovely to hear a voice if you have something to say about anything you've noticed about that tool, or your experiences this year.
I mean, for me, being aware of this curve really helped me go through COVID and through the different, government giving different types of decision all the time, change it, because we during the COVID crisis, we went through a lot of different change curve, every 3 weeks, something like that. So for me, it really helped me to analyze my own feeling, to be able to respond and say, okay, now I need to do something. If I'm in the depression phase or in the shock phase or in the denial, at least, I know I need to do something about it.
Yeah.
So no, it really helped me go through the curve.
And then, what I hear there is it's because it's acknowledging the emotions, right? The emotions are there, and what I find is that the emotions want to move. They want, I often think of emotion as energy in motion. So the thing not to do is suppress it, because that takes up a lot of our energy, and then can exhaust us. So what I also find helpful is to use this in communication with other people. Either it can help me in a number of ways. So it can help me have more empathy with someone else if I recognize where they are in the curve. But also it's just to have that communication with each other, to be able to say, well, today or in this moment, I'm not in a good place, but it'll pass. Or I am in a good place. How can I help? So it's a tool for, as well. It's a tool for communication for me. Good. We haven't had any hands up, have we?
No,
that's
yet.
Cool. But if you have any reflections, if something has struck a chord, or something that you want to say from your experience, please, feel free to put it in the discuss. Okay, I'm just going to pause and have a glass of water. It's
I think people want to know. They want to know, what are you going to show next, Richard? Too much suspense.
What am I going to show next? Okay. I'm just turning my sheet over so I do know what's coming there. What I'm going to do next is show you another slide. Now, come on, I'm getting good. Surely I can do this quickly now. Okay. What I'm going to show you now is called the belief cycle. Okay, maybe some of you have come across this or similar. It's used in CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. It's also used in many coaching and mentoring programs. So what I was saying is, we'll start here. I have a belief, okay? We have many beliefs. Some of them are universal, like I believe the sun will shine, the sun will come up tomorrow, okay? But then we have individual beliefs about ourselves, about other people, and about life. You know, so I might have a belief that I'm a good person, that people are kind, and that life is an opportunity. Okay, but I might equally have a belief which is I'm not good enough, people are out to get me, and life is a struggle. Okay, so different examples. What happens is our beliefs influence our thoughts. Okay, so if let's say, and then we start to have those thoughts. For example, I'm not good enough. I'll start to think about ways that I'm not good enough. Yeah, if I think I'm a good person, I'll start to think of ways that I am a good person. And those thoughts trigger our emotions. You know, how do I feel about being a good person or not being good enough? Just as examples. And then those emotions really drive, as I said, we are emotional, meaning-making creatures. So those emotions drive our behaviors, they drive our actions. And if we behave in one way consistently enough, we create habits. Okay, so if I've got the belief of I'm not good enough, therefore I'm thinking thoughts about not being good enough, I'm, let's say, draining myself, depressing myself emotionally, making myself feel sad, guilty. My behaviors are likely to be withdrawn, or maybe I'll self-sabotage myself for my own success. And that becomes my habit, which becomes my way of life. Sorry, oops, wrong way. And that creates my circumstances. So I start to create a life of not being good enough, which reinforces the belief that I'm not good enough. I can't see any of you to nod, but I'm going to assume that makes sense if I've explained it clearly. What I want you to notice at this stage is how they interlink. And it is really just this cycle that goes round. Now, what are these things? What are these beliefs, these thoughts? You know, where do they come from? And do we even press that pause button to actually stop and say, well, what are my beliefs? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? How am I behaving? What are my habits? What are my current circumstances? And how much of that have I created? So you'll see here, it can be positive, as I've mentioned, it can be a positive cycle, which, if you like, evolves us upwards, or to be more of who we are, or it's a negative one, which brings us down and sort of drains us and constrains us. What I try and do is notice, again, press the pause button and say, is what I'm thinking true? Is the belief or the thought, is it true? Is it kind? Is it helpful? Because for me, that's the so what. It's like it brings it into something practical in my life. And asking those questions for yourself, and again, the more you do it for yourself, the more that you can do that for other people. You'll hear what they say about themselves, about other people, and about life. And you can, even if you don't question them, you can just say, "Oh, that's interesting. I wonder if that's true, kind, helpful." Curiosity is the way in here. And is that even mine or inherited? So quite often we'll be believing, thinking, feeling, behaving because it's something that we've imitated growing up. Usually from family, might be from teachers, might be from leaders or influential people on TV. We've picked up something from other people without even noticing it. and we've absorbed it and taken it in as our own without pausing to say, is that true? Is that kind? Is that helpful? Is that what I want? Okay. Please post any questions as we go. Otherwise, I'm going to keep going. Julie, have we got anything so far?
No, nothing. So, in other words, what you're saying, Richard, is that we are judging. We have to analyze our own belief and thoughts when they're coming. Like, is that true? Is that kind? Is that helpful? Is that mine?
Yeah, this is a tool for self-awareness, right? And our self-awareness is constantly evolving, and we can have moments of where we lack self-awareness. I call them the blind spots. We don't quite see them. But yeah, having self-awareness, pausing to reflect, which isn't always given to us in our life. Sometimes we have to create that moment, but we can do it. You know, we can do it while you're walking to the bus. Yeah, you can do it while you listen to music. You can do it with journaling maybe before you go to bed. So there are ways to build self-reflection into your life, and you know, what is my awareness and what's my non-awareness. Of course, we use this at Mowgli in mentoring, because often a mentor can be that person who holds up the mirror, who's a sounding board to actually ask you questions about these. Say, well, what are your beliefs? What are your thoughts? You know, what do you want? What do you think of yourself? What do you think of other people and life and business and so on? So this cycle can be paused, interrupted, and as I was saying earlier with Iran, and reframed. So is it positive? Is it negative? Ultimately, it's your choice. Once you have the awareness, you have choice. Okay, that's the first step, is awareness. Then you have the choice whether you want to change something. So a negative belief cycle is being told what to do. I can see this at the moment certainly in the UK, with governments and local councils. So we wait to be told what to do. This is at the top. Then we don't like what we hear, so we resent it. We become negative and complaining, or we feel negative and complaining. So we create negative outcomes because we're wandering around in negativity. We blame others, and we create a circumstance of no initiative, no responsibility, and then it just go around to waiting to be told what to do. Okay, that's one example. When we take ownership and we say, "Hang on, I'm gonna do what I can, and I'm gonna let go what I can't," it becomes my choice. So that's when you take ownership, you know, and it's ownership of what we can, because there are things that are outside of our control. What can I control? Okay, I have the motivation to do something about it. Then I start to empower myself, and my decisions create positive outcomes. This can lead into satisfaction, and in the workplace, recognition, and then, wow, that worked. That really worked. Okay, I'm going to do more of it. I'm going to take more responsibility for my life and my actions and my outcomes. And it's treated very much as a learning cycle. Good. I'm hoping this makes sense. Julie, so far so good?
Yeah, and don't worry, we'll send out those slides. So if you feel a bit lost, don't worry, you will have everything sent out after the event.
Back off sharing. See if I'm back in the room. Good. So I've used the word pause a lot. So I'm just going to take a breath myself. And the other thing I invite you to do, I don't know whether you're going to do it or not, is take a break. This isn't a break where you go off and you disappear and never come back. But one of the things that a lot of us are doing is spending a lot of time with our screens, or on a normal day, if we're working in offices and things, and not all of us are very good at taking a pause and just moving our bodies, because we can. So one thing I've already mentioned, one thing is just pausing and staring out the window. So that's one way to pause. Going and getting a glass of water, and just sipping the water. That's another way to pause. And another one is to move the body and stretch. Now, I don't know if you can see that, but, I'm stood up for one thing. So just, you can stand up from where you are. You can take a stretch. You can move your shoulders. You can move your neck gently from side to side, or you can just gently move it around one way to the front, and then gently move it back around to the back. You might want to have a little dance. You might want to stamp your feet. You could move your hips. And there's one I was taught by one of my veteran friends, which is particularly for those who are sitting at our desk most of the day. So our spine has 3 planes of movement. So there's forward movement, sideways movement, and then rotation. Okay. So one thing we can do for our spines is, so you don't move the hips. You don't move the hips, but you bend the spine. Okay. So you bend forward. That's one movement.
Okay.
Are you standing or sitting?
No, I'm sitting. I can't stand. Otherwise, I need to change the whole camera.
Fair enough. And then the other one is to bend, as I say, your hips stay, but you bend to the side. And then you come up to the middle. And you bend to the side. Okay. And then another one you do is the rotation. So you rotate to the left. You come back to the middle. You rotate to the right. Okay. I don't know about you. I can really feel it. And then other ones you can do, you can then build on that. Okay, so you can rotate to the left and then bend, for example. Then you come back up and you rotate to the right and you bend. Okay, so you can do different combinations, but the idea is just to get you standing, get your spine moving, because that's the thing that suffers most when we're not moving, and just gets the blood going, and it resets the brain as well. And there's a lot of science behind this, but you have to do it. I have to do it, otherwise it doesn't get done. So there are ways to build in breaks into your day. Okay, consciously, creatively, and you do the break physically, you do the break emotionally, you do the break mentally. Okay, it's all part of our well-being. I'd love to know if anyone has any thoughts on how they build breaks into their day. So please do say that. So put something in the discuss box and I'm always looking for new ideas as well. I like to try out different stuff. So if you've got any suggestions, music is a great one. Obviously, I'm not going to do that now. But yeah, build those breaks into your day. And I think there's even some research, but I can't remember the accuracy or the detail of it. But I think we stop being productive after, I think it's 40 minutes, or is it 20 minutes even? It's not very much. We stop being productive. Our production levels dip after a certain amount without a break, and also after a certain amount of hours a day. So just see what this does, what effects this has on your productivity. Okay.
So we have Osa Negana saying that he takes a walk up and down the stairs and stand outside in the sunlight. I personally do the same. I go out in the garden and just go out.
Yeah, fabulous. Yeah. So there's a change of scene is refreshing, right? They've got the movement, yeah, the fresh air and the sunlight. The sun is great for us. A burst of sunshine and vitamin D that we get naturally from the sun is really good for our immune system. What do we all need right now? Immunity. So all of these things are good for our immune system, our natural immune system.
Yeah. No, during COVID, when I was really frustrated, I was going in the garden with scissors and I was cutting stuff in the garden. So my garden looks very nice these days.
So it worked? I mean, it had a good effect on you?
Yeah. Because you release the tension by cutting the leaves, and then you're like, okay, you went out. You're not in front of your screen. Then you come back, you're like, okay, I released
I know. And here's another tip I'll give you is do it consistently, right? Do it regularly, even when you're feeling well, right? And in fact, I'd say especially when you're feeling well, because the time you'll need it is the time you're stressed, the time you're low, the time you're So by doing these practices regularly, yeah, you're strengthening that muscle of taking care of yourself. Okay. Good. So, guess what? It's time for a poll.
Yes, putting in the chat right now.
So the poll that is going into the chat is asking you what you believe, what you understand by resilience. Okay, we asked about well-being earlier. I'd now like to ask you about resilience. They may be the same thing for you. I don't know. Our question is, what is resilience? What do you understand by resilience? What is resilience for you?
So please start voting. So
vote away. And again, all your responses will be collated and sent out to you as a handout afterwards.
So please.
I could ask you, Julie, as well, but you might give the answers away.
For me, what is resilience? Yeah, maybe I shouldn't share. I will influence people.
No, not yet.
Well, we had a big debate before between resilience and endurance. So interesting difference. So we'll talk about it later, I guess. But for me, it was quite a big, something interesting.
Yeah, and the work I've done with veterans, quite a lot of them realize that their training makes them tough. Okay, so they're tough human beings, but they've also realized that they weren't necessarily resilient. So we'll have a look at that.
So please continue to vote. Votes are coming in, but I think we need more people to vote. Allez, 2 more votes. So click on the link in the discussion in the chat.
Oh, by the way, I've just noticed a little icon that I think tells us we've got 56 people in the room. So.
Yes, nice number.
Thank you again for joining us. Okay.
So I'm going to share the results. Here we go.
Let's see.
So Richard, what do you think? So I'm going to refresh one last time. Okay.
I'm just trying to double click on it. I can't quite see it. It's got really small on my screen. So do you mind reading it out?
So 20% for includes personal growth, 20% for determined by attitude, 20% for managing emotions, and 40% learning from adversity.
Okay. We've got a pretty good group. Thanks very much. So I also slipped in some ones there that were what I would say it's not. And listen, these are definitions from my experience and from, as I say, working with specialists in a military setting, okay, about what it is and what it isn't. So I want to, and you'll find different descriptions in many, many different places. What I want to try and do is make it practical for you. So what I think is important is resilience is not my ability to face physical hardship. Okay, that's endurance. And I would also say it's not just being able to carry on as before. Okay, that's also a form of endurance. It's like perseverance. Okay, now endurance and perseverance are great. Okay, but I would say they either overlap or they're included in resilience. But it's not, I must just go harder for longer, because actually that can be depleting and that can be exhausting. Okay, and it may be the old way of doing things. But what all the science and all the research is showing us, and all just personal experience is showing us, is it's not resilience, and it's not necessarily good for us long term. Might help in a short-term task or a project. I'm going to stay up until whatever o'clock to get something done, but that's not necessarily being resilient. Being resilient as we've touched on already, is being able to manage my emotions and my thoughts, as we've touched on with the belief cycle, without repressing them. Okay, so it's a lot to do with acknowledgement. This is how I'm feeling, this is how I'm thinking. It's being able to, as I think it was Iran who said earlier, I can't remember who without looking, but it's being capable to respond to adversity. So when crisis comes, it's like, I can manage this, I can respond to this rather than react to it or run away from it, which is our tendency, with our fight-flight tendency. It's a lifelong learning process. Okay, resilience isn't something you tick in a box and go, yep, done my resilience course, right? I'm done. It's lifelong, and we will be tested and we will be challenged. But when we respond, okay, it's something that can grow us. Some of you may have heard of post-traumatic stress. There's now a lot of evidence now about post-traumatic growth. It's like, yes, there was a trauma. Okay, but what did I learn from it? Where does it take me next in my life? And for me, the big one is it's determined by my attitude. Because if you address something from a belief cycle that is positive, that I want to be kind to myself and I want to be positive with myself and others, then that's what you'll take into any situation. And that's what will feed back to you as well, either from yourself or from the people around you. So it really is determined by attitude. I understand that we all live in different contexts, like I said earlier, but our experience of that context will absolutely be governed by the attitude that we take into it. And Mowgli, what we find with our mentors is they often give that bigger perspective to the mentees. And with the mentees, what we often find is that they're able to find that switch in attitude from I can't to I can. Or, to drop what I can't do and focus on what I can do. So these are our thoughts on resilience. Any comments so far? Julie, you're on mute. So.
If you have comments, please don't hesitate to comment on the chat, on the discussion.
And we put a summary into the discussion there, but all of this will also come out in the handout. We are also going to share with you some other resources, some sort of white papers on what the ways of looking at resilience and what it is and what it isn't. And there's also, for me, there's a brilliant TED talk. It's called 3 Tips That Resilient People Know, and well worth listening to. She does this lovely bit at the beginning where she asks people to stand up if they've encountered certain challenges or moments of suffering in their lives, loss, illness, grief, these kinds of things. And in the end, pretty much the whole room is standing up. And there's just this deep feeling of empathy in the room, of this, everyone connecting as human beings. So this can help as well. It's like everyone has got their stuff going on. So her 3 tips, and we'll put this in the handout. We'll also send you the link to the TED Talk. Bad stuff happens. Okay? It's a part of all our lives. It's relative, but it's a part of all our lives. So that's for me is about acceptance that what happens happens. The next one is to harvest the good stuff. Okay, and for me that's about gratitude. There's always something we can be grateful for. I don't know. For me, it's if I'm in a bad mood, there's no one better to hang out with than my little nephew Tom, who's 7. Always puts a smile on my face. And my niece, Molly, who's 10. Even when they're grumpy, they sometimes put a smile on my face. But just, and to try and show up as a positive force in their lives gets me out of my own grumpiness, for example. nature for me is always a brilliant one. If anytime I can connect with nature, like was being said about stepping into the sunshine. So harvest the good stuff. Yeah. And the third one is ask yourself, is what I am doing helping or harming me? And to do that to every thought and every decision. Because I'll give you an example. We might be feeling sorry for ourselves. So we think, right, I'm going to polish off a bottle of some form of alcohol. Okay. And that might put a sort of, temporary cover up the pain. Okay. But it might not be very good for us that night or the next morning. Just as an example, I can speak from personal experience, which I won't go into right now. So it might be, I'm just going to have one glass. Yeah. And when you go to have the second glass or the next bottle or something, you just go, hang on, is this helping me or harming me? So these are little things that you can take away. Bad stuff happens, harvest the good stuff. Is what I'm doing helping or harming me? Okay, these are what resilient people do. And Oprah, I've got a quote here from Oprah Winfrey who says, "Turn your wounds into wisdom," which I think is a great tip. So, any questions so far? I haven't seen any. So,
no.
Okay. Either we are spot on with what we're doing, or people have lost interest. That was the first one. Good. I'm going to show you another model now, and this is one that we use. Let me go back to present.
So send us some little thumbs up if you're all okay. So we want to know if everything is okay.
So this one we use very much with the veterans that I work with, and it's taken from Paul Gilbert's Compassionate Mind. And what it's saying, and this is for all of us, this is all human beings, right? We have these three major brain functions. First one is threat, and it's our stress response. It's what keeps us alive, really. Okay, and so it doesn't have to be, threat. There's a lion coming at us, which is where it originates from, by the way. It's like it's how did we keep alive when we lived in the wild? It can be I'm thirsty. It could be I'm tired. I'm hungry. Okay, so it's that part of our brain which is constantly monitoring for threat. Okay. And then the next one is drive, which is the ability to take action. Okay, so the ability to perform, and also to it comes with performance, but also that sense of fulfillment, a sense of achievement. Okay, so we have threat, and then we have doing something. And as I say, that could be as basic as I feel thirsty, so I'm going to pick up my glass and take a drink of water. It could be as simple as that. This is going on all the time. And then what most of us are doing in the modern world is yo-yoing between threat, drive, threat, drive, threat, drive. Okay? I need more money, I must go to work. I need more money, I must go to work. I need more money, I must go to work. So it's very current. And it's one feeds the other. Okay? Because if I don't do enough in the achievement with the drive, my threat gets triggered. Yeah, I didn't do enough. I feel threatened. What we often forget to do, okay, although we did it very naturally as children, is soothe. And by soothe, I'm talking about active recovery. This isn't just rest. Okay, it's actually regenerate. So our best natural way of doing that is sleeping. Yeah, where we actually regenerate. But we don't sleep very well if we're feeling under threat, or if we're over or underperforming. I don't know if this makes sense. So what we need to do better when it comes to well-being and resilience is bring more active recovery into our lives. Okay, so that means to stop performing and driving. occasionally and just switch off. It also means managing our threat responses. Like we've been saying earlier, is it true? Is it kind? Is it helpful? Yeah, so soothing is what we did earlier. It's just taking that pause. Most of us, including me, arrived into here probably with a bit of threat or drive going on. Yeah, I must do this well. That's what's going for me. Threat is saying, what if it goes badly? What if the technology doesn't work? Okay, but my soothe says, Richard, breathe, pause. It's okay. Do your best. Yeah. It's how I speak to myself as well. It's a key part of this. So, again, all this will be handed out. If we flip too much between the threat drive, we exhaust ourselves, and that's when we become depleted. That's when we become disconnected. It's when we become depressed. Okay, and it's because we've forgotten to take care of ourselves. Well-being has a healthy dynamic of all three. So this isn't about doing one more than the other. It's actually about having a balance. Without threat, okay, we don't know when we need to respond to the things that support us and keep us, to stay alive. Without drive, nothing changes. Okay, but without soothe, we forget to take care of ourselves. When we do have a healthy balance, we become whole, dynamic, capable human beings. Does this make sense to you, Julie?
Yes, completely. Yeah.
And for me, the revelation is that soothe bit. It's just noticing, oh my God. So I want you to think, even now, it's like, pop into the chat ways that we could soothe ourselves. We're going to do another poll on this in a minute as well. But if you've already know ways that you soothe, that you actively take care of yourselves, and please put them in the chat. I don't want to go into too much detail on this slide. What I want to highlight is that the threat is a self-protection system. The drive is a sort of incentive-based. It's that fulfillment-seeking system. And the soothe is contentment. Okay, and it's also that these are very much linked to our hormones. We're driven by our hormones. So we have cortisol, puts us on alert, okay, to keep us safe. So when something, a shock happens, it's cortisol that puts an adrenaline that gets into our system that makes us ready to take action. With the drive, okay, that releases dopamine. Okay, so often when we've gone for a run, or we've done something active, or we've done something that's got good feedback, we feel good. Okay, but what's important is it doesn't sustain because it's based on effort. We have to keep doing effort. We have to keep doing effort. With the veterans, what we find is they, often because of their military background, they go to the gym. Okay, if they go to the gym and they pump some iron and they do some weights and all these kind of things, and they feel good briefly, but then they feel bad because they didn't do as well as yesterday, or they're constantly competing against themselves or each other. So it's not sustainable. It's the soothe that brings in the oxytocin. And oxytocin reduces cortisol and it reduces stress. This is so important for our well-being. I can't state it enough. And when you practice it, you will start to notice the difference. Okay. Good. So I think, Julie, we're switching to a poll, correct?
Yes. And Richard, we've got more than 40 thumbs up, so we're on the right track.
Good to know.
Thank you for encouraging us.
Yeah, thank you. No, this is, well, I'll tell you what, as you're encouraging us, that's giving the dopamine hit.
Yeah.
Right? By the way, this is how social media works, if you didn't know already. When we go into social media and we're striving for likes, we're actually in blue. We're in the blue bit quite often. Yeah, if I do this, then someone will like me. And what our system does is gets a hit of dopamine, like going to the gym or doing a good piece of work, and we like it, right? But it's really important that we don't become dependent on that, which is what social media can become. Is I need to post the perfect life so that people will click on it and give me a dopamine hit. And I won't go into it too much, but whereas if you use social media for actually this is what soothes me, and I'm going to pass on that soothing. I'm going to share stuff that's going to support and care for others, and I don't need their response, right? Then that's you taking care of yourself. So it's I've only just noticed that because I wanted the thumbs up for the interaction, just so that I know that you're there. What I realized is I suddenly felt this, that feels good. Yeah, but that's dopamine. Isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting?
Yeah, I'm going to delete my latest Facebook post then, Richard.
Yeah, well, actually, recently on Facebook, I've been posting because we're getting these beautiful autumn skies in the UK. So I've been going for walks for my soothe, as part of my soothe practice. And the skies have been so stunning that I wanted to share them with other people on Facebook. Because for me, that's passing it on. But yeah, some people then come back and comment, and it's like, I feel good that they feel good. So, it can be a positive thing. Us feeling good and passing it on can be mutually fulfilling, right? What I would say is if it's done from soothe, if it's done, I'm going to do this for that person so that they give me positive feedback, and without it, I don't know how to take care of myself, then I would suggest that has a potential for a negative loop. Okay, so our poll, have you put it in the...
Yes, but I think people were so interested but what you were saying, Richard, that nobody voted, so start voting.
You're too kind. You're too kind. So this is about the soothe bit, okay? So we want to know what ways can I be kind to myself, as in you, and what one action, so what one thing can and will you do to support your well-being? Okay, so for me, as I say, it's walks in nature, massive. It's exhaling. It could be really simple as that. It's pausing for a minute before I start an activity with a client or an audience. Yeah, it could be I drink a big glass of water first thing in the morning. Right, the part of us that dehydrates most during the night is our brain. So one of the best things we can do in the morning is rehydrate, especially the brain. What doesn't work is coffee, because coffee is dehydrates. Right? And even when we do drink coffee for enjoyment, maybe also have a glass of water to go with it. What else? Sleep is a massive one. So turning off my tech early enough so my brain can slow down before I go to sleep. So coming out of drive, or even threat. It's like, I haven't done that thing for tomorrow. Oh yeah, but do you know what? I'm just going to put it all down and I'm going to start again in the morning, because I will be more effective in the morning if I go to sleep at 10 than if I go to sleep at 2 a.m.
So continue to put your answers on the menti.com. We're waiting for your answers. Some nice things are coming up, but we want to know more.
What are yours, Julie?
Me, walking the dog. Go for for a good walk. As you mentioned, Richard, the nature. Connect to nature from time to time. Disconnect. This weekend, I was in the Aberdares without any, internet connection. So nice disconnection.
Flight mode on your phone is awesome for soothe.
Wow.
What else? Yeah, there'll be certain relationships in your life, people you like. So there's spending time with people and time alone, but in the right balance. Because some of us are introverts, some are extroverts. But if you do too much of one, not enough of the other, we kind of need a balance. We need a balance of who we spend our time with. If you spend your time with someone who's always whining and whinging and what's the word? Dramatizing the news, and there's time and a place for that. But if it's not soothing, put it that way. So surrounding yourself with good people, really important. Being with people you can be yourself with. Being yourself. What else? Decluttering is a good one. It's a weird one, but decluttering, getting rid of the stuff that you don't need in your life anymore. And that could be decluttering relationships as well.
Oh, yes. So you're right. I feel so good when I get rid of stuff, put it in the bin.
Yeah. I've got another.
We want to hear from you. Please put it click on the link and share with us what do you do to be kind to yourself? What makes you feel good?
I know music is important to a lot of people. I wish I know music has a good effect on me, but then sometimes so does silence. So journaling can be a good one. Writing down your thoughts, especially if I'm in a bad place, I can write down all the bad stuff and then I burn it. And it's just like, okay, that's the past. I don't need that anymore.
Oh, somebody said read poetry.
That's delightful.
Wow.
Yeah, really. During COVID, I joined a poetry group, an online poetry group. And we meet on a Tuesday evening, and it's really peaceful and it's really calm and there's no pressure. And if you don't have to write anything, you can just listen. And if you want to speak, you can. If you just want to listen to other people, you can. It's lovely, and it has a really positive effect on me. I sleep better afterwards. It's amazing. Could you read some out, Julie?
Yeah. So positive self-talk. I think that's a good one. Pause to reflect, exercise, gardening, cook. A lot of banana cakes were done during COVID, during lockdown.
Yeah. Gardening's a great one. Do you know that getting your hands dirty in the soil, releases I forgot what it is, oxytocin. It really, so the feel good, soothe hormone. We get as much oxytocin into our system when we get our hands dirty as when someone gives us a hug.
Really? Wow.
So if you're missing your hugs, get your hands dirty.
Nice. A lot of entrepreneurs in Kenya during the whole COVID went back to farming. And that was something very important to them. They said, we can diversify. We have sometimes we have gardens, we have land we don't use. Let's use them. Let's go back to farming. Baking. A lot of people were baking as well, like going.
So there's something in that about simplification as well. So for all of us, this is, let's simplify. Let's simplify. Let's just go back to the things that are good for us and good for others and good for the planet. One I want to acknowledge as well is acknowledge the situation. So, if I may add, acknowledge the situation and how I'm feeling about it. Because when we think back to the change curve and also the belief cycle, it's like, then we have that awareness and that perspective. And then when we're ready, we can start to experiment and make different choices. And start to go, well, if I know what I don't want, then what do I want? If I know what I can't do, then what can I do? And all of this starts to create a positive cycle. With all of these, please, and this includes myself, keep practicing them. It's like let's build our muscles of self-care and well-being. Okay, and again, build the muscles so that when we've got them on the days we don't feel like it. And I've got a quote here, which is on the slide up, which we'll share. The Chinese proverb, dig the well before you are thirsty. Okay, so practice these things now for when you really need them. For me, it's also, to say with my nephew and niece, if I'm modeling it to others, then they can learn from me. So if I model something that's a good example, then I'm a demonstration of that to those that I work with, but importantly, the family and friends. Okay, good. So we're coming towards the end. I would love it if people could pop into the chat something that they've learned or something that they're going to take away from this session. It could be a confirmation of something you knew already, but even better if it's something like, yes, that, didn't know that, or I'm going to use that, or that's given me something to take away. As I say, I'm really interested in what people will actually put into practice. So if you pop into the chat some things that you will, it could be something that you mentioned just now, but it could be something from earlier in the session that's made you think or made you feel differently.
Richard.
Do you know, for me, I go on, Julie.
No, can you repeat what you want people to share in the discussion?
Yeah, something that you've learned from this session today.
Right.
And preferably something that you're going to use. Something that you've learned, something that you can use. As I say, it could be a perspective, it could be a model, it could be something that you've seen in one of the word clouds. It could be a reminder to yourself. Yeah, the positive self-talk is for me. That's here's a reminder. Always, always, always a reminder. I know I have a habit of self-judgment, right? And I also know that I feel so much better when I don't do it. So I notice it. It's like someone was saying, acknowledge it. I acknowledge it when it happens, and then I try and change it. Okay. So thanks, Iran. Got some validation. Also learned about some of the science behind feelings, well-being, and resilience. Reminder about focusing on prevention and preparation. Yeah, lovely. Yeah, thank you. That's the thing. I think the more we can, as I say, put it into practice, then it's weird. The less we need it. So this is what I mean about going from stress to growth. And what they learned also in the military, which is obviously an extreme setting, is that the more people do work on their well-being and resilience, okay, the better they perform in extreme situations. Okay, they didn't know that. At the beginning, it was all about recovery. It was all right. How do we get well after we've been broken? But what they learned going forward is that the more that they worked on their well-being and resilience, the less likely they were to get broken in the first place. I mean, sadly, I think that's been learned way too late, but better late than never. It's such an opportunity and a gift to be able to talk about these things with you, because we need them. We need them individually, and we need them in the world. And as I've been saying, and whether it's leaders, whether it's children who are the leaders of the future, this is so necessary. When we're well, when we're resilient, we're more creative, we're more self-aware, we're more compassionate with each other, we have greater empathy for each other. The opportunities and the possibilities for us as individuals and as teams and groups and families and cultures, it becomes exponential.
Yes, and as we all working with entrepreneurs here at the Afrilab conference, we want to build resilient entrepreneurs to be able to build a resilient Africa, an innovative Africa. So resilience is key. So that's why we were keen to pass on, the knowledge tips to our entrepreneurs.
So, so we can finalize. I'm just going to present one last slide.
If you have any questions, put them on the chat.
So here are some that we consider important. I've made mentioning pauses from the beginning, and carving out time for reflection. And then remember that cycle of awareness, responsibility, and choice. Healthy boundaries. So quite often it's what do we say no to? I'm not going to have that extra bottle of alcohol, or I'm not going to say no to that person who drains me. I'm going to say, sorry, I'm not going to spend time with that person who drains me. But you do it through self-respect. It doesn't have to be, I'm going to lock myself in my house. It can just be, I can have respect for myself, and I'm going to respect other people. That's where healthy boundaries come in. Eating, hydrating, exercising. Be kind to your bodies. Speak kindly to yourself and others. Yeah, like I mentioned for me, dropping the judgment. Really important practice. Also, forgiveness. It might be that something's happened in the past and you're still carrying a guilt around it. It's okay to let go of the guilt. Intention. I'm big about intention. It's like, well, why are we doing this in the first place? Why is being kind to myself important? Why is well-being important? So set your intentions and then follow through on it. Kindness, compassion goes with the forgiveness and the speak kindly. Do that with yourself, also with others, and it benefits everything. Benefits everyone and everything. And I suppose finally is practice. Just keep doing one thing for your well-being daily. One thing. And then you can build it. You can build it into two things and so on and so forth. Lovely quote. Resilience is based on compassion for ourselves as well as compassion for others. And I'm a big fan of the Dalai Lama. He says, if you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. Good. I don't know if anyone has any final questions. I know Julie wanted to wrap up with something.
Yes,
Julie,
no, I mean, we will put the handout in the Floor platform, but if you want to receive we're going to put the slides in the Floor platform, but if you want to receive the slides and other resources, and also we have upcoming white papers coming up, and we have one that we are drafting on resilience and entrepreneurs. So if you're interested in all that, please click on the link I just posted on the discussion board, so I can know who to send the slides and all the resources to.
Great. And what we've presented will also be on this platform as well, is that right?
Yes, the slides, I can upload them on the Floor platform, yes.
Yeah.
So you need to go.
And for the other.
Yeah. So in your platform, you need to go in the little tab called Handouts. On the left side, you have stage, lobby, lounge, VIP, handouts. So that's where you can find the handouts.
It's really good. Any final thoughts from people that have come up?
Let's check the.
Iran says the form isn't working. So.
Hey! Oh.
Can't keep it to yourself, Julie.
Oh my
it's
God.
all about sharing.
Says you need permission. Oh no, what's that? Oh no. Okay, going there, changing permission right now. What is this? Thank you, Iran. You're our savior. Huh? You've been active on the chat, letting us know a lot of things. So
yeah.
Thank you for.
It's appreciated.
Yeah.
From my side, I just want to, say a few thank yous. I want to say thank you to Julie for being my technical producer and also, sharing some of her own experiences and insights. I think that makes it real. And thank you to each and everyone who's joined. I wish I knew more about you and the work you're doing, but by the very fact that you're here at the conference attending this this session says a lot. So thank you. I hope it's been valuable. And yeah, let's keep doing this. We all need to keep doing this, but with a lot of soothe, a lot of balance, and patience and compassion.
Yes, and of course, if you're interested to know more about Mowgli Mentoring, please don't hesitate to reach out, either on the Floor platform. I think there is a VIP or booth. Sorry, I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, I think you can connect me through the platform. And of course, don't hesitate to contact me via our Mowgli contact. So on the slides, we'll put our email addresses. So don't hesitate to reach out.
Okay, so I think that's us done.
Yes. Well done, Richard. Thank you very much.
Good luck to everyone. We're going to quit the stage and enjoy the rest of the conference as well.
Yes. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Bye.